morning, friends. Okay, do me a favor, share the live with anyone who might enjoy a little bit of self-care, a bit of shenanigans, and goodies like that, because that's what we're here for. Self-care and shenanigans. Who is that? Pattern? No. Sorry, kitty. Sorry, kitty. Okay. Good morning, good morning. Pardon my fuzzy socks. Sorry, friend, I'm not accepting guests in this live. I will go ahead and turn that off. Thank you. For those of you who are new here, these are our Bhakti Bites classes. What is Bhakti? Or Bhakti in Sanskrit means devotion. So devotion to what? Self-care. Self-care is often the first thing to fall away when our to-do list starts getting big. We've got good shenanigans around here. So I invite you into these little bite-sized classes to muster up some self-care. To muster up some self-care when we often we just so often neglect our self-care. Okay, for those of you who are new here, hello, my name is Reverend Deborah. Hey, B, good morning. I am a movement facilitator, movement in breath, body, and being. I am your shenanigan shaman and the owner of movewithchange.com. Movewithchange.com is an online platform where we are gathering together to practice mindfulness, to learn the tools that lead us back home to ourselves, that offer us a profound kind of healing and a profound kind of presence with our own healing so that it can be most effective. I guess, most effective. We can always seek answers outside of ourselves. We can seek knowledge outside of ourselves to know things. We can know things here. But the question is do you understand those things that you know? Do you integrate those things that you know here and bring them into the body, bring them into your life in a way that makes them part of who you are and part of how you go about your day? Or do you take these practices and you compartmentalize them into, I go to a yoga class twice a week and that's the only time I practice mindfulness, right? Or I sit in meditation on occasion and that's the only time I practice mindfulness. We often misconceive these practices as separate from our day-to-day lives. And the reality is that the real profound magic of these practices comes when we use them in our day-to-day, when we use them in the moment. It's not when we need mindfulness tools. Yes, they're helpful for balancing and grounding and all those things and clearing when we use them in meditation or in practice. But when I'm out in public and anxiety comes ripping through me in a situation, or at the doctor's office and I'm feeling fearful, right? White coat syndrome. That's when we need our mindfulness tools. That is we want to be able to reach for a mantra, a mudra, a breathing pattern that's going to recenter us and give us back our prefrontal cortex. Because what happens when emotions run high, right? Those are those moments when emotions or triggers pull us around. What happens when that goes on is that our prefrontal cortex, our ability to make the higher thinking stages of our processes of our mind happen here. When your emotions click on, the energy from here moves back to the lower parts of your brain, and you're no longer able to make just as wise decisions, right? So how do we get our locus of control back? How do we get our captain, our navigator back, our wise navigator back? Mindfulness. We bring ourselves into the present moment. We bring ourselves back into our body. We bring ourselves back to our current experience, the reality that's happening right here, right now. Not what happened 10 years ago, not what's going to happen in 5 seconds, but right here, right now. And then we have the ability to choose. And that is powerful because it creates the space for conscious change, for conscious evolution, for intentional healing. And when your life becomes intentional, then your intention is woven throughout everything. And we're not so much puppets of our lives or pulled and pushed around by life, but we are present in the flow and able to navigate with much more grace. So, all right, my friends, our mudra this week has been the Prana Mudra. The Prana Mudra is done like so. You just drop the last 2 fingers, so your ring finger and your pinky finger, drop them down, keep your first 2 extended, and then bring your thumb to the top, to the nail, gently, no more than the weight of a nickel. So we're not pushing the fingers down, and we're not creating tension in the hand. We're holding the mudra with the intention, simply intention holding the mudra. So we want to keep the fingers extended with intention, and we want to place the thumb on the nails of the other fingers with intention, not with pressure and not by creating tension, but simply with intention. So this week we've sat with this mudra a couple different ways. And today I want to amplify the effects of this mudra. This mudra can be done in any position. A lot of mudras need to be laying upright on the lap or have a specific place or position to hold them. The Prana Mudra does not. So for those of you who are just catching this one this week, the Prana Mudra is, Prana means life force, right? So the Prana Mudra associated with the solar plexus, which is where our center of will, our center of life force, that Prana Mudra increases the flow of life force through us, improves our connection and opening of the health and balance of our solar plexus. It increases willpower. It improves the overall immunity and balance of the body. It's really helpful if you're feeling tired or physically or mentally tired. The Prana Mudra can be really helpful for that too. If you're feeling in a place, in a situation that you're suddenly feeling accosted or feeling potentially victimized or weak in a situation, you can also use this mudra too to just increase that vital energy that flows through you, the vital energy that gives you life, right? That gives us life and gives us the impetus to affect life, to be part of life. Thank you guys so much for the follows. So this is our Prana Mudra. And because this Prana Mudra is specific to the solar plexus, I would like to focus today on the solar plexus. So we're gonna hold our Prana Mudra, again, like so. And instead of placing it on your thighs, I invite you to bring it up here. So your solar plexus, I shouldn't have worn a sweater. I should have worn another shirt. So your solar plexus, here's the bottom of the sternum, okay? Find the bottom of the sternum. That point where your rib cage comes together at the center of your chest, bottom of your sternum. Find that, that's where your diaphragm is. Go down to your belly button, okay? This space in between your belly button and your sternum is your solar plexus. So bring your Prana Mudra to about the midpoint. So maybe like the sides of your rib cage or the bottom sides of your rib cage, not quite to your hips, just a little bit higher. And bring those, again, Prana Mudra here, bring it here, palms up, fingers facing forward. So you can either leave it here as we begin our meditation, or you can set it down and then I will cue you to bring it back up here. It's up to you. I'm going to go ahead and start here because I want to start cultivating that solar plexus energy, that flow of solar plexus energy. So I'm going to keep my mudra here. And find yourself a comfortable seated position if you haven't already. If you are walking or driving or at work or doing other things, please make sure you are still being mindful of your current situation. Feel free to use the mudra, close your eyes if it's available to you, or just do the breath work. Speaking of, we are going to include a pranayama practice today too, so be prepared for that. All right. Once you've got yourself ready, go ahead and close your eyes. We're going to take 3 deep breaths to fully arrive for our practice. Begin by inhaling the breath through the nose, through the lungs, and all the way down into the belly. And let it go with a sigh. Inhale again, lifting the heart and elongating the spine. And let it go. Inhale once more, expanding the rib cage in all directions, front, sides, and back. Really fill your chest cavity with air. Hold for a moment and release. Keeping your prana mudra here at your sides, I invite you to seal the lips and simply follow the breath. Inhaling all the way to the top and exhaling all the way to the bottom. Just take a moment allowing the breath to anchor you into your practice. Remember that the most important part of meditation is your intention and your attention. Your intention now is simply to follow the breath. And we bring our attention back again and again to this practice. We bring our attention back gently, lovingly, without shame, guilt, or creating a battle within ourselves. It is just a gentle redirection, reminding the mind that we are sitting for practice. Inhaling all the way to the top and exhaling all the way to the bottom. Nice and slow. Focusing only on the breath. All of your attention, all of your awareness on the breath. You can stay here in this part of the practice as long as you would like. When you're ready to shift, I invite you to bring your attention down to that solar plexus area, the upper belly between the belly button and the base of the sternum. Bring your attention to this area and imagine inhaling the breath directly through the belly, directly through this area. So you inhale, imagining the breath would come in through the belly and out through the belly. If visualization is not your thing, don't worry about it. You can simply just set the intention. You don't have to visualize it in your mind. Again, the most important part is your intention and your attention. So your intention is to breathe through your solar plexus, and your attention comes back again and again to that part of the practice. Breathing through the belly. Breathing through the front of the body, through the solar plexus. Inhaling and exhaling that prana directly into our prana center, our center of will, our solar prana. And you can stay here as long as you would like. If you would like to continue, you feel free to begin the same visualization, the same breath, the same intention, this time through the back body as well. If you can stretch your attention to breathing from both inhaling and exhaling through the back and the front of the body, you can begin that part of the practice now. Otherwise, feel free to just focus on the back side of the body instead of the front. If you can't quite wrap your attention yet around both the front and the back, it can also be helpful to imagine a tunnel or an open space or a bright light emanating from the center of your body, from the center of the solar plexus area, emanating both from the front and the back as we breathe into this area. Take several more breaths here, just focusing your intention on the area of the solar plexus, front and back. Allowing any sensations, any thoughts, any distractions to rise and fall as naturally as your breath, without holding, without trying to create a story or explain. Just bringing your attention back to your focus, to your intention of breathing through the solar plexus. Feel free to stay here in this part of your practice as long as you would like. If you feel ready to move on to the next part of the practice, I invite you to shift your prana mudra so that the first two fingers, your middle and your pointer finger, still extended, are touching each other in the front of your body. So right in front of that solar plexus area, I invite you to bring them together so that the tips of the fingers are touching right in front of your solar plexus, keeping your prana mudra, and then gently bringing your fingers in to that midway point between the base of your sternum and your belly button. Hold your prana mudra here for a moment, continuing to breathe nice and slow. Now we're going to employ a pranayama practice here, a breathing technique that is intended to increase prana in the body, specifically work on the solar plexus chakra. So for this practice, it's a relatively simple practice and we're going to go slow at first. For this practice, we focus only on the exhale. It's called Kapalabhati. The inhale happens naturally as you forcefully exhale. Again, we're going to go nice and slow. So you take a full deep breath in. Slowly exhale. Seal the lips. Take a half inhale and then exhale through the nose, pulling the belly in, using the muscles of the belly to force the air out, allowing the inhale to naturally happen, and continuing, we'll say, to a count of 10. So we'll do that nice and slow at first. It'll go like this. And then rest. So again, we're focusing only on the exhale. Feel free to pause and blow your nose if you need to, because it will clear your sinuses for you. Return to a natural, steady rhythm of breath. And we'll do the second round for 15 breaths, a little bit faster. Again, you can return to the previous parts of meditation if you'd like to. Feel free to honor where you are in the moment. Take a full deep breath in. Exhale. Seal the lips, half breath through the nose to begin. And relax, release the practice, returning to a natural rhythm of breath. Now you want to try to keep the movement isolated to the belly as much as possible. Sometimes we tend to bounce when we do this, and that just means we're not quite focused on the solar plexus as much as we need to. So do your best to isolate. Remember, this is a practice, right? So you're not going to be perfect today unless you've had years of practice. So be present with where you are, honor where you are in the moment, give yourself grace. Next round, we will do count of 20, a little bit faster, a little bit more intense, a little bit more forceful this time. Again, sealing the lips. First inhale, take a deep breath in. And exhale through the mouth. Half inhale to begin for 20. Release the breath, release the mudra, palms up in your lap, and just rest. Just pause here for a moment and notice the quality of your breath. Notice the quality of your being. Feel free to take note of what you notice here, but there's no need to attach a story to it. Sometimes we can get feelings from meditation that we get excited about and want to attach stories to, positive stories. But even those positive stories create attachment to a certain type of experience. So we simply want to be grateful for the experience we are having now, or for simply the opportunity to hold space for this kind of experience, to hold space for personal growth, and to practice self-care. For just a few more moments, continue to breathe, releasing any attempt to control or change anything. Feel free to return to any part of the practice. You may simply just bring your Prana Mudra back and leave it here on your thighs. Bring it back to your sides. Breathe through your belly. Practice Kapalabhati. All are available to you. When you feel complete, I invite you to bring your hands together in prayer or simply lay one over the other over your heart in gratitude for today's practice. In gratitude for that divine prana, that life force that flows through us, that carries us through our day, that guides us through our lives. And offer yourself a little gratitude for taking the time for self-care. I'm so proud of you for showing up for yourself today, and I hope you are too. Thank you so much for joining me. When you feel complete, I invite you to come out of meditation slowly. Offer yourself some wiggles, some stretches. Sometimes I like to rub my palms together to warm them up, generate a little bit of heat, and then I place them over my eyes and gently open my eyes underneath my hands. It assists in the transition of light, especially if you're in a bright space. We are overcast today, so it's not so bright and dramatic of a change. So again, this Prana Mudra can be taken anywhere. This Prana Mudra can be used anytime. I found myself this week using my Prana Mudra like this. Like I would kind of just hold it here. And it's funny when we're out in public, right? I may not do Kapalabhati because it's so obvious, but the reality is I have totally sat in public and done Kapalabhati. Sometimes we think that people are paying more attention to us than they really are. And we feel nervous about doing these practices that would be really helpful to us because we're worried that somebody's going to think something funny of us. And I am very, very guilty of that. I live with PTSD symptoms. So those things, the scales are a little off up here. So there's some unfounded fear and worry that I often have to be aware of so that I can step through, right? And so this last week, with the assistance of this Prana Mudra, did my first live in a public place. I didn't go on live very long. For those of you who saw that on Wednesday, that was a huge step for me. I have always hidden my practice for a variety of reasons. One, my mother told me to hide it when I was young. And then as I got older, it became a source of judgment, or at least a source of judgment, even a source of shame. Doing yoga poses in the park. I actually had a woman come up to me and tell me that I was being whatever, because her husband was looking at me or something like that. Just the feeling uncomfortable being authentic in a public space is something that I've really had to work with. A partner of mine in my self-healing really has been this inability to be completely authentic out in public. And this week, this mudra made a huge difference for me. And I didn't intend to do a live on Wednesday. Actually, I was going to skip it because we had one hell of a week. We had a young woman show up on our door in the middle of the night, running from a how do you say that without getting blocked off of TikTok? Hey, good morning, Sean. This is Bhakti Bites. We are practicing meditation and chatting about shenanigans, Dharma things, and the use of mindfulness, really. So after being dragged across the highway, after being kicked out of a truck and dragged across the highway and accosted and assaulted and those things, so she showed up at our door in the middle of the night. So I had to shift into a role that I don't often have to play anymore. I don't invite a lot of chaos or a lot of drama into my life, right? But sometimes the universe literally brings it to your door. And I'm very, very grateful that this young woman was able to came to my house. I was grateful that she found her way here. It's very dark here. It was a very foggy night, like an eerie foggy night, and she could barely see down the road as she was walking. She stayed here for a few days. I helped her. I ran errands with her, made sure she got what she needed, made sure she filed the paperwork she needed and got the protections she needed and got her safely back to her car because she lives in her vehicle. But the whole time, I found myself all week using this mudra, reminding myself that, yeah, it's important for me to be strong, but to see my own experiences in this young woman, 19-year-old, in this barely a young woman. You can imagine, right? It's like watching a scary movie or watching a movie when we've actually experienced those things in life. And we're like, whoa, I don't know if I can watch that movie. So holding space for her was a big deal. But interestingly, because we're all mirrors we're all mirrors for each other. The experience made so apparent my ability to be present and strong for other people. And yet, when it comes to being strong and holding boundaries for myself, I really struggle. And it's really interesting to see the way that such things manifest in our lives. You know, I have been working to rebuild trust with myself. And I think when we are working to rebuild trust, it's funny, I don't have a mudra. Thanks, Rude. I don't have a mudra for rebuilding trust. But I think that this one is a good start. Because it brings energy. It brings focus. It brings intention to the very center in my energy body. That is where I draw that strength from to set those boundaries. I can have a strong, powerful heart center and still struggle to set those boundaries. I can feel rooted and grounded, but still struggle to set those boundaries. I can feel safe, but when something or someone threatens that safety, do I have the presence to say no? In big moments, sure, right? Somebody obviously being aggressive, a stranger or something, right, coming up to me like, okay, that's very clear. That's very easy for me to be like, oh, fuck no, right? That's obvious boundary setting. Thank you, friend. But when something comes smiling to your door, knocking on your boundary, and says, hey, do you mind if I cross your boundary? Like, is that okay? Is that cool? I mean, you don't mind, do you? Well, I'll just go ahead and cross your boundary. And then if it hurts your feelings, I'll just apologize, right? But we don't realize how fragile sometimes somebody's boundaries are, especially when they're new at it, especially when they are learning how to do it and rebuilding trust with themselves to such a deep level. you have somebody with PTSD in your life and you think that their boundaries are ridiculous or silly or not very important or even nitpicky and controlling, I invite you to take a step back and ask why. Why would someone need nitpicky, tiny little boundaries? Learning to protect yourself when you've spent your whole life turning yourself inside out for everyone is a really messy process. It's a really messy process. And I had a friend of mine many, many years ago. I didn't understand it when she said this to me. We were friends. We were in our 20s,